Right, so a video I'm making on our allotment. We get a lot of people ask us about our allotment, and we thought we'd make a video about our allotment to share with you how we produce our produce and a few ways and techniques for different vegetables. This is a dabonut apple tree. So it's Darren, by the way, Cornwall, UK, and I'm filming this on the 1st of July. This is a 1-year-old dabonut apple tree, so it's only been in since December, so it won't reach 2 till probably maybe autumn time. So what we tend to do with very young trees is we strip if you get any apples, we strip the majority of them, because we want all the energy to go into the actual apple tree growing before it bears fruit. So we've just left 2 apples on this one. This is a dabonut apple. It's a cider apple. It's a very good Somerset cider apple, probably the best Somerset cider apple, along with, I would say, Yarlington Mill. So we've left 2 on there. This came as a 1-year-old tree. It was what they called a whip, so it's standing upright with no real branches off it. So how have we managed to get these branches? It's not very clear there. This was going upwards, so we cut it right next to a bud. This is where the bud was, so we cut the top off next to the bud. This then obviously gives us the height of the tree. The tree will get taller from downwards upwards, and this then produces these branches here. Okay, these branches here. And then in next spring we'll bend these and tie these down to train the tree. Not necessarily that one, because that's the leader. So this one here, which has also come by a byproduct of snipping the top of the tree off, we'll train this branch, tie it down with a pair of tights and a brick at the bottom, and then we'll get more fruit. Because trees that have branches going upwards, when it comes to apple trees, gives you growth. Branches that go that way give you more fruit, and that's the reason we'll do that. And I made a video on that, I think, already. So everything you see on this video, we'll use our comfrey feed or our wormery feed for feeding. This is our comfrey patch. Don't pick comfrey off your patch for the first 3 years, because it's deep rooted like a rhubarb plant. It likes to set down its roots before actually you start picking off it. This is really, really good for bees. Bees love the flowers, so they love these flowers, and on top of that, then they'll go to seed. Like this here, there's some that's going to seed here now. We'll let these go a bit browner, and then we'll extract the seeds from this, and there'll be big black hard seeds, and we'll sow them straight away in a seed tray, and we'll only lightly cover them, and that'll create more comfrey plants to actually, for us to not increase our patch next year, because obviously this is a perennial. It'll be actually to give other people the opportunity to buy comfrey plants from us, to create their own comfrey patch themselves. Have a look at our video which we've made on comfrey, about making comfrey feed, rather than me go over it extensively here now. Lemon tree we would consider part of our allotment, so he's got lots of new shoots on it. You get these red leaves coming through on lemon trees for fresh growth. So there's no flowers on it yet. There will be soon. We use ericaceous soil. Ooh, look at the weeds. I'll have to deal with that, won't I? So we use an ericaceous soil, and then we also then feed this, not with our wormery feed, not with our comfrey feed, but we actually use a natural liquid seaweed feed on this one. Just spotted the first flower on the lemon tree. Look. It's a greenhouse which we store all our perennial plants during the winter months, but in the summer we leave one of our racks in because we can't be bothered to take it out, and then we obviously grow the things we need, such as cucumbers. We put up a wire structure with bean poles. You can see flowers are coming in there now, so we're going to have cucumbers soon. This will all feed, everything in here will feed on our wormery feed and our comfrey feed. There is a 1st of July UK Cornwall. We have got good sized peppers coming along. You can just about see here the chilies are coming through. Then we've got our tomato plants. We strip a lot of the leaves as we go that we don't need, because we want air circulation around the plant, so that will help it stop getting blight. It probably still will get blight near the end of the season, maybe September, October, but this will reduce it at this point. This is a variety called Chadwick Cherry. They're just beginning to turn colour now, so we'll be picking in another week or two. This is our melon structure. We use sort of wire mesh, bamboo canes again. You've got a male and a female flower on these. They're beginning to flower now. We leave the doors open all day and the windows open all day as well. So the bees will come in here and pollinate them for us. This is our Pacific brassica bed, mainly because we get a lot of cabbage white butterflies. So we have a mechanism here to actually cover these. So these are sprouts at the back, the green plants here. Look. And then at the front we've got red cabbages coming along. So we net in this in the next couple of weeks before all the cabbage whites arrive and lay their eggs on them. That's the kind of structure we've built, so we can put a veggie mesh or enviro mesh over the top of that, and then we use things like old washing lines, as you can see here, to hold the nets down around all four sides, and that will keep the butterflies away from, you know, laying their eggs on the leaves. These are like just 1-year-old trees I'm showing you now, apple trees. So again, we've reduced the fruit. We've just kept one apple on this tree. This is a Laxton's Epicure. It's an early eating apple, maybe August time, but it doesn't keep very well, so you've got to pick them and eat them within a couple of weeks. This is a Sunset, which is an old-fashioned Kent apple, and this is a 1-year-old tree. As you can see, one apple on it. Again, you know, we've been starting to train these branches this year already to come outwards. Don't do it with the leader. Leave the leader go up, create more branches, and then obviously bend the branches that come off the leader sideways. Michelin cider apple. Wish I'd never bought this really. Now it's really bland apple tree. It's when I didn't know so much about apple trees, and I thought, well, it's going to be a good cropper, that's good enough. Well, it's not what you call a it's good for a blend, and that's about it really. Michelin. Got 12 apple trees in total. Won't show you all of them. So these are our parsnips. We're on heavy clay soil here in the clay area of St Austell in Cornwall. So we start these parsnips up here in February. What we do is we soak the seeds overnight in tepid water in a jam jar in a window seal. Then we take them out, and then we fill a seed tray full of toilet rolls holders, and then we sow the parsnip into the 2 seeds per toilet roll, and then we snip off the one which is the weakest, and then when they get adult leaves, the one which is looking good, we then plant it out toilet roll and all, and then we're not disturbing the roots. Clay soil is not the best place to be growing parsnips, but Gladiator is a very good variety, and doing the way that we do it tends to be quite successful. That's another apple tree, and you see we've sort of been bringing these branches outwards, and you can see he's loaded with apples. This one's now 3-4 years old, so he's beginning to fruit properly now. Kid's orange red, lovely eating apple, quite a late apple. It will store for a little period of time. Rhubarb crop, we've got about 8 or 9 crowns. What we do with those is in autumn we would put well rotted horse manure. When they die back to nothing, we put well rotted horse manure around the base of them, not covering the centre, and let it rot down, and that will put lots of nutrients into the ground to make the rhubarb prolific, which it is. We tend to then make a lot of rhubarb gin, and obviously we have a freezer full of rhubarb to get us through the winter as well. What can you do for the bees in your allotment? This is a plant called Viper's Bugloss. It's native, I think, to Scotland. It's the best plant you can have in your garden for the bees. I can see at the moment 1, 2, 3, 6 bees hovering around on this Viper's Bugloss. It's a biannual, so you can sow this up till August in a seed tray, and then repot it into, when it's got adult leaves, repot it into a little plant pot, and then come October plant it into its final position. It's a biannual, so you grew it this year for it to flower next year. So this was obviously sown, I think, June 2024. We're now sort of July 2025, and that's why it's in flower. If you do let them die where they are, they'll actually often self-seed as well, and you'll get new plants from that as well. So our peas, we have big posts at the end, and we then have like a mesh, metal mesh for them to climb up. We grow 2 types of pea. We highly recommend this one. This is one that's called Onward. We sow these in the greenhouse in February, but arguably you can actually sow these direct in maybe the end of March into the ground. Another variety we grow with the motorbikes in the background, that is a bigger pea pod, and there's a little bit of a curve to it, and this one is called Kelvedon Wonder. You get more peas in a pod, but personally I quite like the Onward for the amount of pea pods you get. You'll see with a lot of our vegetables we put up this bunting, and we do that because otherwise we have a big population of house sparrows and tree sparrows, and bless them, they'll eat the flowers, which means then we end up with no peas. So we actually put these up when they actually start coming into flower, because otherwise they'll just nip them off and then we'll end up with a lovely pea plant but no peas. Squash bed, so we put well rotted horse manure in this area in autumn as well, October time, let it rot down, and then obviously that's put a lot of nutrients into the ground to create our squashes. The tea squashes we grow is a Sibley, which is a Sibley Hubbard, which is very old squash, blue skinned, almost lemon shaped, and then we also grow this one here, which is Crown Prince. This will end up blue. We hand pollinate these, and you could do the same. So here we have a male flower. This is a male flower. It's got the stamen in the middle poking out. What we'd do is we'd take that off. If we found a female flower which has got the squash on the end, we would take this flower off. We would strip all the petals, and then we would dip the stamen into the female flower, wiggle it around a fair bit for about half a minute to ensure it gets pollinated. Then what we'd do is we would then close the female flower up, tie it together with a bit of string so a bee doesn't go in there and cross-pollinate it, and then you end up with squashes. This is sweet corn on the top. This is called fronds. We sow these in the UK in Cornwall about middle of March. Once they're you know, maybe a couple inches tall, we would then pop them into their individual pots, and once they're settled in after a week, then we would feed them every week with either comfrey feed or our wormery feed, to get them to a point where they're going to be ready to go out maybe mid to end of April. So what these fronds do, they become very dusty, and then they drop their little bits like they have here on the leaf, and you hope that they actually land on this furry bit here, because underneath the furry bit is where the sweet corn will mature. So if you want to grow potatoes for Christmas Day, do what we do, grow them in big pots like this. By the end of the summer, what we'll do is we'll cut all the foliage off, leave the potatoes in the ground. We'll have natural rain to keep the potatoes damp, and then Christmas Eve we'll come up here, tip the pots upside down onto the garden, and we'll have a good crop of potatoes for Christmas Day. This is an unknown apple tree. We don't know what it is. We need to get it ID'd, really, go to an apple event in October, maybe this year or next. So it's an eating apple. It's sort of an October fruiting apple. Keeps a little bit as well. We reduce the fruit on our apple trees because if you have more than really, I mean, yeah, that one's got 3 there, but actually it's not on the same bit of stem. We reduce it normally to two apples per stem, and ensure that the next bunch is at least 3.5 inches away from the bunch that you've got reduced to 2. Then you'll get better a crop of apples, bigger apples, rather than lots of tiny little ones. Main crop potatoes, they're flowering, but we won't dig them up until probably middle of August. We'll wait for the tubers to be as big as possible before we dig them up. Don't be tempted to dig them too early. Into the fruit cage. So we built this fruit cage ourselves. It's not a bad structure, it's all right. So red currants, here we are. Look. Red currants, we're picking a lot of red currants at the moment. We'll be picking them again today. Every other day we're picking these. These are a variety called Laxton. We've got a Laxton's apple tree, and we've got a Laxton's red currants. Laxton brothers of Bedfordshire were prolific growers of fruit trees and bushes, yeah, long time ago. Blueberries are in pots. This one's called Duke. This seems to be the better plant out of the two. This one gives us a lot more fruit. We put it in the pots. Ericaceous soil is very important for growing blueberries. And this variety is called Patriot, and we get less fruits off this one at the moment, but he could get better. This is Violet, one of our bantams. She's being nosy, come to see if I'm going to give her any red currants. So with our bantams, obviously we get eggs. There'll be periods of time that you won't get eggs naturally, which is normally maybe November, December. They'll slow down and stop. But then we go to a poultry friend of ours, we buy eggs off him in that period. We like them to have that rest. We don't want to force the issue by putting on natural light in there. Let them have the rest that they need. So we fleece our carrots. The reason we do that, we've got a lot of carrot fly here in this area, and by fleecing it, that'll keep the carrot fly away. We also grow one called resistor fly, which is more resilient to carrot fly, and we grow one called giant red, which is from a company called Real Seeds. If you're in the UK, check out the website for Real Seeds. They sell really a lot of heirloom varieties of vegetables that have gone through the test of time and are quite disease resistant as well. So we pack companion plant, so we've got onions this side and onions the other side. Onions will help put the scent off of the carrot fly as well. This is our lettuce bed, Australian yellowleaf, wonderful lettuce, Real Seeds. The one in the middle, the red one there, look, that one's called Devil's Tongue, and that's from Real Seeds. And then at the back, they're bolted, they're getting tall. They're one called Winter Marvel from Real Seeds. I wouldn't buy that one again, but definitely love Devil's Tongue and definitely like Australian yellowleaf. By the way, we net it to keep the birds off from pecking the leaves, and butterflies laying eggs on them. So this is what they call an enviro mesh or a veggie mesh. It's very, very fine holes. Yeah. So what do we do for weeding? We don't actually hand weed at all. We have a Dutch hoe, which was my father's, and we Dutch hoe every 2 weeks on a hot day in the morning, and then the weeds will just burn off and die. And that's what we do to keep weeds at bay. We try to avoid going down on our knees weeding. So we've got red onions there. They're all grown from sets, and then we've got some Swedes here growing away as well. They've been thinned out, and these will have to be netted as well soon, because I don't know if you can see, we're just getting little holes in the leaves already, look. So we need to net them. This here is a Bramley seedling. It's a bit of a boring apple in my opinion, but it is cropping really well this year. I don't know if you can see this branch going out that way, and this one here, look, going that way as well. We're training these branches as well, but not the leader at the moment. The leader will perform more branches, and then we'll do the branches that come off the leaders in the next few years. Mint and sage we grow in our little bed here. We've just cropped it now recently, and we have then my wife Tracy has a dehydrator. She dehydrates it, and then we've got mint and sage to get us through the winter. Strawberry bed. This used to be a 6x6 greenhouse when we first moved here. We took the greenhouse down and turned it into a strawberry bed. We net it. Yesterday I came up and sadly I found a squirrel in the net. I don't think he'd been in there very long. I managed to cover him with a big blanket, climb him down and get him out, and then just check my net, make sure he cannot get in again. I still can't work out how he got in because it is so well held down. First early potatoes is something I would highly recommend. It would give you something, you know, sort of June, July time. We've dug a few already. You know, they're not the biggest of potatoes. First earlies, they don't keep, by the way, just so you know. But they're nice, you know, with a salad or something this time of year. This is white icicle lettuce, and as you can see, it's beginning to flower, which means it's going to seed, which means it's probably going to go woody now. So we're going to start picking that quite rapidly now. But we have got more radishes on the go. French beans, we put these flags around, and then we put old squash bottles on the top. The reasons we do that is, again, to keep the house sparrows off from nibbling the flowers, because if they bite the flowers off, which they tend to do, if there's not a deterrent, then you'll end up with no French beans. We do the same with runner beans. This is a spalia, so we're training this tree. We train it to go along wires here and wires down here, so we're training the tree to go sideways. So it's called Lord Derby. It's a Stockport apple. I think it's from the 1800s off the top of my head. We're going to get a good crop off this one. We have thinned it out, but here's looking good. So if you don't have a lot of room but you've got a fence in your garden, you could train the same. You could actually train a spalia. So all you need to do is put some sort of hook in like this, and then a wire around the hook, and then tie the branches in with this, what we call rubbery wire. We tie them in, and then we'll tie them in again later in the season, where we'll bend this one down a bit and then bring that one along as well. Another purpose, another net. This is just the beetroot, and just to keep the house sparrows off. Otherwise the house sparrows will nibble all the leaves of the beetroot, and then the beetroot won't form properly because it's not got the top growth. We had a tiny little bit of space, so we actually grew some more peas. We have water butts. We have 7 water butts in the garden complete, so it doesn't keep us completely in water, but does for long periods of time. These are strawberry plants which we've grown from runners last year. As you can see, they're fruiting already, so we've put them aside because our strawberry bed there, the plants are now 4 years old, which is about the length of time of a decent strawberry plant before it basically starts showing very small fruits or less fruits, and they're beginning to do that now. So, you know, we got ahead of ourselves, created more plants from runners, and I've got a video on YouTube about runners and how to do it. Have a look at that for strawberry plants. So next year, well, in autumn actually, we'll dig these out and put these new plants in, which will be brand new plants. This is probably one of the best apple trees I have. This is one called James Greaves, which is a Scottish apple. It's a potted apple tree, but again, we've been obviously staking this one because of the weight of the fruit that's on it. So we've put a stake in and with a little bit of tight to protect the bark. But we have trained the branches this way as well, so we get a good crop out of this tree. So as I said to you, the runner beans, we do the same as what we do with the French beans, flags and the bottles on the top which waggle around, because if we didn't do this we wouldn't end up with flowers, as you can see down there, and then we would have no runner beans. This is our wormery. So our wormery provides us with a liquid feed. This time of year we're probably going to get about 1 litre a week. We use old squash bottles and then we store them. We've got about 8 or 9 litres at the moment, so we're still doing okay. You'd mix this sort of 1 in 5, whereas the comfrey you mix it maybe 1 in 10. So it's gravel at the bottom up the tap, then there's a bit of membrane, and then we put all our food waste in there, but not citrus and not onion family. So everything else we chop up and we put in there, you know, apple cores, potato peelings, everything you can think of goes in there. The worms are in there, the worms will digest all that and then create this liquid, and then the liquid will then give us the liquid feed. So it's a bit of a long old video. We might have to do this, watch this in stages, to be quite honest, but there's our allotment basically, and that's what we grow, and hopefully we've given you a few tips on how to grow things. Take care until I make another video, which should be in the next week or two.